and welcome to QuipScope, where we talk about a brand new game or a game that's coming out very, very soon. My name is Ashton.
My name is Peter.
And Peter, you've been playing a game this week, I guess. It's taken it's quite a lot to get through, I guess. What have you been playing?
Yeah, well, I've been playing a little bit of three games. You might say, because it's the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition, I think is the official name. So if this has somehow passed you by, dear listener, this is a remastered package of GTA 3, GTA Vice City, and GTA San Andreas.
Yeah, and you're a big fan of GTA 3, is your
GTA 3
favorite.
particularly, yeah, just because that's one that I had when I was younger. I did, for a brief time, I owned Vice City as well, and I played San Andreas plenty, but it's a bit like, in fact, before we started recording, we were talking about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's like everyone's got a doctor, and it's probably just the one that they watched, really.
When they were younger.
Yeah, not even necessarily based on who is actually the best. It's just, oh, well, that one was mine. So GTA 3 I do have a particular fondness for, and that is the game I've played the most of the three in the trilogy so far. Partly because it is, or was, my favourite back in the day, but also I'm just sort of playing them through in order, so it kind of made sense to do that. But I have, of course, played enough of Vice City and San Andreas to at least be able to talk about them in a QuipScope.
Yeah, are you playing it on PlayStation?
Yeah, PS5 I'm playing it on.
So, what do you think?
Well,
Interesting.
the thing that everyone kind of, the thing you notice straight away is the visual style. And this was known about ahead of time because of the trailer and promotional stuff that was put out. People saw what they have done to this game visually. I think it's like splitting the crowd. Now, putting aside the bits where it's clearly gone wrong and it's not like come out as intended. Yeah, if we're just looking at the bit that was clearly intentional, I don't mind it. Some people do. The fact is, this is a remaster, not a remake. So they were working essentially with just their old assets. And when you've got big, chunky models like that with the most disgusting hands ever, they had no fingers in the original version of the game. And, big facial features and stuff. You don't want to try and make it look photorealistic in kind of a modern sense. So I think it was a sensible thing to do to kind of really lean into that stylization. So I'm okay with that. But I think that is just a kind of, some people will like it and some people won't. And that's very, very much a subjective thing. There are some changes that have been made to the original controls, particularly. There's now a weapon wheel, which you didn't have. You can change your control scheme based on like kind of new conventional driving controls, using the triggers and things like that. Or you can actually set it back to classic mode if you want that muscle memory, which I've actually been playing on classic mode, but I've tried both and I think it works reasonably well. It's difficult to know how much of this to kind of whether to lay it on thick that like, oh, here's a mistake that was made and here's something that should have been better, because some of it is just kind of part and parcel of remastering a game that hasn't aged particularly well in certain areas. So GTA 3 never had very good aiming and shooting mechanics. It just sort of locks on, and then you just pull the trigger. Some of the weapons you have to stand still when you're using them, like some of the bigger ones, and all that kind of stuff remains. And so, in that sense, it's true to form. It's true to the original. But some of the stuff you look at and you're like, well, if they'd taken the time, they could have updated this game. They could have remastered it and improved it in that sense, not just said, well, we're going to do a like-for-like recreation. Because there are a few things that have changed, but I think for the worse. One thing that I tried pretty early on, being Cheater Austin, was to see if the old cheat codes worked, because that was part of the fun.
I was going to say, wasn't there an article that was like they do work or something?
People were saying ahead of time that they were hoping they would work because
okay.
it hadn't been revealed.
Right.
And it went right up to release day. No one knew whether they would. And then people started posting articles saying, yes, they do, which is a good thing because they're available. And it disables being able to unlock trophies, which I think is fair enough. But again, they were part of the experience of the old games, I think, like turning on, there's like riot mode and stuff where you can give all the pedestrians guns and they'll all just go wild.
Yeah.
So that's all fun. But there's a flying car cheat that you can do in that game where there's this sort of weird physics where you really have to build up speed, and then even then it's incredibly difficult to keep these cars steady in the air.
Yeah.
But the one way that you could fly really well is also by spawning in a tank, right? Turning the turret all the way around behind you. And if you then keep firing it, the knockback from the turret would propel you forwards in the air, right? Only now you can't do that. It used to be that you would control the turret independently using L2 and R2, so you could just turn it.
Yeah.
But now the turret is linked to your camera, and it will only be pointing where your camera is facing. So if you want the turret facing behind you, you have to not be looking where you're flying.
Right.
So that doesn't work anymore.
Good.
And that kind of disappoints me, that I kind of feel like if they'd really looked into, you know,
how people play the game.
The game, and like, you know, I think you don't have to be a serious GTA nerd who runs the wiki or whatever to understand that the best way to fly a car in that game is to get a tank and turn the turret around. It's like a fairly surface level thing, I think. So, you know, stuff like that has been updated and actually in some ways has made it worse.
Yeah.
Probably makes it easier to use the tank in a conventional sense, but, you know, whatever.
For everyone who doesn't fly their tanks, they'll be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I guess so. But, you know, give us the option, I suppose, is what I'm saying. That I think the biggest problem about this game is that changes have been made or updates have been applied in what is clearly, I read somewhere, I don't know if this is actually confirmed or if it's just a rumor, but they use machine learning to do it. They use like AI to just kind of coat the whole thing in new stuff and update it.
Right.
And those updates have clearly been made without a human checking everything.
Right.
Occasionally you'll just see like textures that don't look quite right. There are typos on signs and stuff.
Right,
although that seems like human error rather than AI error. But either way, you know, it's like these things have been done and then they've just not been properly checked to see if they work. And I think that is where things come in with some of the already infamous screenshots that have gone around with how the character models look and some of the animations.
Yeah.
I suspect at least some of those are as a result of AI saying, I will make this better for you, and it sort of doesn't quite understand what it's looking at.
Yeah.
So that is probably the biggest downfall of this game, is that things have been changed by a robot and a human hasn't made sure that the robot has done it right. You know.
Have you enjoyed like playing it? Like, has it been fun to play, or have you encountered the bugs that kind of made? I think some people think it's quite unplayable because of how many bugs there are. But have you enjoyed it?
I've been fortunate to only encounter like a couple of major bugs. One I posted on Twitter where I fell out of the world, but then very quickly it just dropped me back in. It was fine, and I got a stunt bonus for doing it.
Nice.
So, another one, I hasten to add, I didn't go cruising, but in this game you can pick up prostitutes, right? And it will give you a health bonus. You get 125% health.
Cool. That's how it works.
That's how it works, exactly. And at one point she got out of the car because I'd reached 125% health, so she got out. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if they still put the animation in there. There was this like controversial animation where the car would shake if you were like in a secluded area.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'll see if that's still in there. So I lost a bit of health and got back in the car. And the same prostitute was like, oh, I'm going to get in the car again, except she didn't quite know what to do. So she was just running round and round and round my car. It's like she'd been activated in the sense that like, I will get in this person's car, but wasn't able to actually get into it. So she was trying, but couldn't. And I've heard that people have had that issue like in missions as well, where people are supposed to get on the back of your motorbike or whatever.
And they just start sprinting in a circle.
Yeah, exactly. So That's probably they're the only real bugs I've encountered. I think like certain things seem a bit off about the game. Like I'm seeing way more traffic jams, and I think cars are like jumping red lights when they're not supposed to, and it's causing like gridlock on crossroads and stuff, which never used to happen in the original versions, as far as I remember. And also, when your car is damaged and sets on fire, that used to be a warning to say, get out, it's going to blow up in about 6 seconds.
Yeah.
It just blows up almost immediately now, which is really strange. So you just don't get the chance to get out of your car, which is really irritating.
Yeah.
So things like that. The only other thing I absolutely despise, and there's no excuse for this having, gone under the radar, is that the rain effect is absolutely horrendous.
Oh, I have seen this online actually, yes.
It's like the rain itself that's falling in the sky it just really gets up in your field of vision, and you can't really see through it, and it's like thick white blobs of rain.
Good.
Like opaque. But the worst thing is the tile. It's like a tiled effect of like ripples on the street, but the actual tiled texture is only about a meter square. So from like there's just like a checkerboard all along the street as far as the eye can see of the same like 10 droplets happening.
Good.
You can just see the loop point immediately, and it just looks absolutely disgusting. It's like something that you wouldn't have even accepted at the time when the original games came out. It's like something from the generation before. So there's just no reason for that to be in there, and you can't say that is purely based on AI making a mistake. That's just not been noticed by the developers, or it has been and they've not been
They've just not been bothered to fix it.
Yeah. So overall, I have enjoyed playing it.
Yeah.
But I think the best way to play these games, if you were really wanting to, would be to make the effort to actually play the original versions. That would be my recommendation. I just think like, you can get them now quite easily on a PS2 emulator online, or if you still own your originals like I do, then play them on an old console, because this doesn't add enough and takes away too much, or too much of it is broken or annoying or not quite right. I've had fun, but it's only going to be appealing. That's the main thing, actually. It's only going to be appealing to people who played the originals and want to revisit them.
Yeah.
And even then, you have to really look beyond the mess. But if you never played the original GTA games and you're feeling like, I might give those a go, I would not recommend getting this.
Because I was going to say that's probably what I was going to do, but no, I won't bother.
I wouldn't say so. I think that...
Because it's like 60 quid?
Yeah, it is. It's like, 59.99 or something like that. So it's a lot of money to pay, and you get 3 games out of it, and they are, good games, but it's still not really the best way to play them. It's just the easiest.
Right.
Yeah.
There we are then. GTA, the definitive edition. GTA Trilogy, the definitive edition.
Well, if you want to get serious
about this. And now it's the part of the show that you're probably quite good at because you had lots of practice, but I don't know if you've heard, I was kind of slagging him off the other day.
Oh, yeah.
James Jenkins, not very good at these bits.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
He tends to describe his quip for about 2 minutes after he said it. It's my favourite thing.
Okay.
Honestly, I love it. Every time we do a QuipScope together, I just can't wait.
To explain why it's a pun?
Yeah.
Right.
It's good. I love it.
Okay.
Every time.
Are you going first?
Well,
or
it's quite a long title, isn't it? GTA Trilogy, the definitive edition. More like GTA Trilogy, the Don't Bother edition.
Whoa. I like that because they both begin with D.
Yeah.
And that's the only similarity.
That's the only similarity, yeah.
GTA Trilogy, the definitive edition. More like... oh, man, I didn't prepare one. More like... Keep Away Trilogy.
Nice.
Definitive edition.
It's because it's got kind of similar sounding.
Yeah, sort of loosely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
Thanks.
And we'll find out a bit more about it on Thursday if you've carried on playing it between now and then, which is tomorrow at time of recording. So thank you so much for this. We'll see you guys very soon.
Well, it's Saturday for everyone else.
That's true.
They've got to wait for the podcast to come out. But we record on a Thursday, so it sucks to be you guys. Okay, then.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.